they gave Epstein a plea deal that excused his underage sex trafficking beyond a 6-month, basically home confinement. It was a joke. It was like no sentence at all. And this was federal. But they also gave him that the plea deal covered him and unnamed possible co-conspirators. I asked Andy, I said, Andy, you were in the Southern District of New York for like 23 years. Have you ever even heard of that before? A plea deal that gives immunity beyond the individual to unnamed individuals? He says, no, he told me, he says, that's not a thing. So you got a guy who is trafficking sexually underage girls. You got him nailed, dead to rights. And you give him the biggest sweetheart deal as a prosecutor anybody could ever imagine, to the point where it's not even done in prosecutorial circles. Like, this isn't even attacked. Why would you ever do that? There's no basis for this in law. And remember, there was the prosecutor, the federal prosecutor in Florida at the time. This came up during the Trump administration. He had to go because people were really upset about this when they figured out how the Epstein thing was initially, because there was all this focus on the Epstein trial. They said, wait, what happened back in, the early mid-2000s when this first came up? So there's no explanation of that whatsoever, other than, and you've heard, I'm sure, the quote, we think he belongs to intelligence, and there's been this other stuff out there. And then I'll just add one more factoid to this. And I wish I had the, here's who he was working for, here's who he was targeting. I don't have it yet because I'm just, a guy, and I'm reading what I read in the news, and I'm trying to use the sources that I have. There are very powerful forces trying to stop us from knowing this. Shawn, when the FBI actually did I don't remember the year, but it was recent in the last few years, they did a raid on his home. And this was in the FBI, in the logs. You can actually check this one. They did a raid on his home, and they came upon tapes. Okay? They came upon what we would assume would be surveillance footage. Now, we know he had the whole house mic'd up, camered up, the whole thing, right? Including the rooms that were specifically meant for, illicit activity. The FBI agent on the commanding, agent running the scene, reached out to Epstein's lawyers and let Epstein lawyers come and decide what was privileged and what was able to be taken. Let them sort it out.
Are you serious?
Yep.
It's funny to me that you have friends inside the FBI that get upset with you for talking shit about the FBI, and then we're talking about this right fucking now. That's why nobody fucking believes you.
The FBI has gone into as an institution, gone into a very bad place for a number of reasons with the politicization. But on the Epstein thing, you think about the ferocity with which they went after Roger Stone for basically making a joke on Twitter DM. They go and they arrest this senior citizen in his silk pajamas with 26 guys in tack gear and make a real show of it. Mm-hmm. And then you see what the federal law enforcement apparatus did for years and years and years to Jeffrey Epstein. You wonder, what are the priorities here? They go after Roger Stone for nothing, like it's the bin Laden raid. And they call CNN to watch it, to humiliate him and put it on air. And we all know they did it. And the Epstein thing, no one has ever, by the way, all these things are brought up with you. I've never heard an explanation of this that didn't involve, I don't know, that's really bad. So what does that tell you? I hate when people just say, this goes all the way to the top. The Epstein thing goes really high. I don't know where it stops, but this is not the way the system tells us that it works. And you're being asked to believe a lot when you're asked to believe the official narrative of what's really happened there.
He's just involved with so many people. The Virgin Islands are subpoenaing Larry Page of Google and JP Morgan for their ties with Epstein and human trafficking as of May 4, 2023. A federal judge ruled the J.P. Morgan and Deutsche Bank can be held physically liable for allowing Epstein to maintain his network of underage girls for sexual abuse, actively enabling him to continue his crimes. Do you think anything's going to happen with that?
This is where I go into I would love to believe that the system
We'll do the right thing.
wants justice and will do the right. Yeah, except, but see, this is what you want to believe. There's this party that wants to think the good guys, the cavalry, is going to arrive. Cavalry didn't arrive in time for all those young girls. Cavalry didn't show up to deal with that, piece of trash when it would have really counted and done something. And I think it's very hard for people to see all these moments where there was at best this failure and not feel like there's something else that is at work with all of it. I think that there's no good explanations for how these things happen that don't involve. There is such a thing as a conspiracy, and some conspiracies are real. And with Epstein, I think we've seen the very kind of situation where incredibly powerful people will go to extreme lengths. I mean, there are few things that, no matter how powerful and rich you are, will destroy you, in the public eye and legally, as fast as, doing, illegal acts with underage girls. So what are the very powerful people who Epstein was targeting? We assume there were people who he was targeting. What are they not willing to do? Or what levers are they not willing to pull in order to make this sort of thing go away?
Nothing. I mean, they're having sex with underage women. That doesn't get any worse than that.
So that's when you see, and they remember the Epstein case. Really, I think it was the Miami Herald wrote about it again in 2019. It had sort of faded. People weren't really talking about it for a long time, and then finally there was this outrage about it, and there was a focus on it. But it's just really disconcerting at the deepest level to see that this is a guy that should have been put away for. Look, man, I don't like to do the thing where we compare this thing to that thing, or whataboutism. You had people on January 6th who didn't hit anyone, didn't break anything, didn't threaten anyone, and they were locked up like animals for 18 months in solitary confinement in a DC jail that was practically a gulag because they had the wrong politics and they were in the wrong place at the wrong time. Jeffrey Epstein was trafficking underage girls, and the system gave him a 6-month home confinement, go into a county jail for a couple of days a week thing, and just, made most of it go away. And then he kept doing it. That's the system. So you sit there and you say, is it a justice system? Doesn't feel like it to some people.
No matter where you're watching Shawn Ryan Show from, if you get anything out of this, please like, comment, subscribe, and most importantly, share this everywhere you possibly can. And if you're feeling extra generous, please leave us a review on Apple and Spotify podcasts.